Okay, this video, I decided not to keep recording on the other one or else it'd be too long. So now I'm going to go over 5, 6, 7, 8, which is all about the ions, okay? So, just a recap of kind of what was taken at the end of the last one. The way that we're going to be doing this, and I'll start with number 5. We'll do that one together, and then I will kind of run through what the steps were one more time. So what we've got here is we have a little symbol here, and it says Cl, and it has a little minus. That little minus means a -1, okay? We don't write ones in chemistry very often. It's assumed. So just know if you ever see a little minus sign there or something, and it's not written, it is the number 1, okay? All right. So this is a minus sign. This is different from what was on the top part of this worksheet, which is it was a dash or a hyphen, okay? All right. So we have this for number 5. And so hopefully you saw that it was Cl. Cl, if you look on your periodic table, is chlorine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write chlorine in this first box for our element name. And it's going to be a chlorine ion, okay? You can write that for each of these on this page, is that ion will be at the end of it, okay? All right, your atomic number. So if you look on your periodic table, the atomic number that you see is going to be 17, okay? All right, your number of so the next thing I would do automatically from there is I take that 17, I go and throw it into my protons column. So I have 17 for the number of protons, so atomic number and number of protons, okay? All right, so this is one of those where you have to work backwards. Instead of giving you information about this mass number, I gave you the number of neutrons. So neutrons and protons sit in the center. They make up lots of the mass, so we use protons and neutrons for that mass number. So we're going to do 18 plus 17. I'm going to draw an arrow so you know it goes to the left, is equal to 35. So 35 is our mass number for this example. Okay. Now we have to finish up with electrons. So you can't put 17 there. This little ion symbol tells you there is that negative charge, so we have to consider that negative charge. So the way you could do this one is you are going to, I'm going to write it down below. That way we have, actually I'll write off to the side. Okay, so for this one, we have a -1 charge, right? So the information given to you is that I know there's a -1 charge. So if you remember, if you watched the previous video about the top part of it, the first step that we do is we pay attention to the negative part, okay? So we think to ourselves, we say, okay, it's negative. So if it is negative, that means that I have more protons or electrons. Hopefully you said electrons. So if I have more electrons, remember, protons we get from the atomic number. That's never going to change. So you get that piece of information from your periodic table no matter what. Right? So if I already know that we have 17 protons, but because of this -1 charge up here, I have more electrons, okay? That means that I'm going to have 1 more electron. So that would be 18 electrons. Okay? So I can write that in there. Another way we could have done this one is you could have used a little bit of algebra. You can put your -1 as your charge. Then we can set it equal to our protons are positive, so we're going to say 17 plus, and then you can say x, just like in math class. You're solving for the number of electrons. So looking at this, okay, you would have a -1 is equal to 17 plus x. How do you solve for x? You move any numbers to the other side, okay? You leave your letter alone, you move everything else away from it, right? So So in order to do that, we're going to take the 17, we're going to subtract 17 from both sides, and you would get a negative 18 is equal to x. Now, you can't have negative 18 electrons, so you kind of have to do a little bit of thinking if you're going to use algebra to do this and say, oh, no, it's just 18 electrons. That negative 18 was talking about what is the charge that all those electrons are bringing to it, okay? So that is the way to do it algebraically, okay? All right, so I've shown you one example of each of these two methods for the first row. So let's do another example on this page. So silver. For silver, our ion symbol, we got to go look at our periodic table and see what silver looks like. Silver is Ag, okay? So silver is going to be Ag, so I'm going to go ahead and put Ag. Okay, and we don't have enough information yet to have our charge on there. So we're going to leave that blank for now. We'll come back to it. So this will be the last thing that we handle, okay? All right, so your atomic number. So according to our periodic table, Ag was 47, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write 47 in for atomic number, right? All right, our mass number is 107. I know automatically I'm going to put this 47 in for number of protons. I can solve for my number of neutrons by taking 107 minus 47 to get the number 60. Now I have to come back to our ion symbol because I need to know what the charge is. If I have 46 electrons and 47 protons, what is the charge? So slow down, write out what you've got. We've got 47 protons. We have 46 electrons. Remember, protons are positive, electrons are negative. Who do we have more of? Hopefully you said protons. So the fact that I have more protons means that I have a positive charge. So I figured out the sign on it, whether it's positive or negative. So I figured out the positive part. Now you follow up with what is the difference between these two. You can do it 47 minus 46, or you can do it in your head, and you should be getting the number 1. Okay, so first find out the sign, then you find out the number. That is our charge. That'll be what we put into this nuclear symbol. Ion symbol, sorry. And so you have a positive 1. Okay? So that's how you do it that way. If you were to do it the algebra way, so the second way that I showed you on the last example, so this little example right here, you could have taken 47 protons plus a negative 46, because you're considering the electrons, and that would get you a positive 1. And that was the charge. So you have 2 ways that you can do this, but you got to pick one and master it, okay? Don't try to switch between the two, while you're learning this. And I really do recommend the first way, especially if you kind of get mixed up with negatives and positives, okay? That is probably the best way to approach them. All right, so I'd like to do another example. So if you are done, then you are done, and that's fine. I'm going to we'll just move this over here, move this all over here, move this over here. Okay, so we're going to kind of push this all off the screen a little bit. Just a recap of what the steps were. Remember, for the logic way, you are basically asking yourself, more protons or more electrons? That's the first question, right? And once you find out, if you have more protons, then you have a positive charge. If you have more electrons, you have a negative charge. Write that down. Write down either a positive or a negative. Your second question is going to be, what is the difference in quantity? So an easy way to approach that little part is you can do big number. Sorry, these are two different questions. Okay. Big minus small to figure out that number. And now you have a sign and a number. Okay. So that'll be the way that I do this next one. You are more than welcome to do it the algebra way. I'm not going to show any more in the video of that. All right, so I'm going to write in pink now. All right, so I'm on number 7. So you have a bunch of blue squares. So if you notice, all of these are blank, right? So you're like, oh man, what am I supposed to do? So you're going to go right over here. You have number of protons. Automatically throw it into your atomic number. That would be where I would start. Protons, I can go right into atomic number, okay? Your mass number, you are thinking, okay, I have neutrons and I have protons, so I'm going to add those together to figure out a mass number of 16. Now we're going to go with our ion symbol. So we can use our atomic number, do a little research on our periodic table, figure out that atomic number 8 is oxygen. Okay? So if that's oxygen, then our symbol, our ion symbol, is going to be a big O. And now I got to figure out, okay, what is the charge? You see that you have an imbalance here of protons and electrons, right? So let's start this thing out. All right, so if I have 8 protons, but I have 10 electrons, who do I have more of? Hopefully you said electrons. So that tells me I'm going to have a negative symbol. So I write that down. Now I'm going to figure out the quantity. So this is step 1. This is step 2. I'm going to figure out the quantity. I'm going to say 10 minus 8 is equal to 2. There's my charge, negative 2. You're going to put that right above the O that you wrote, right there. And then we can finish out that one by writing it down here. So we have oxygen, ion, and I should have put ion for silver as well. Okay? All right. So hopefully that's gotten you through it. Try the aluminum one on your own, and then you can check your answers. So if you want to pause the video, try the aluminum one real quick. I'm going to write out the answer to it, and then you can come back or click play, and then you'll see the answer pop up. Okay, so hopefully you pause the video. Here's the answers. So you can see that we have aluminum ion. This is an aluminum with a +3. Sorry if you didn't see that. Pause it if you still haven't done it. And then your atomic number was 13. You got that from your periodic table. You should have put it right in for protons. Your mass number minus your protons gave you your neutrons, which was 14. And then in order to solve for this, I kind of put it down here. So you had a +3 was your overall charge. You told yourself, I have more protons. So 13, that quantity was 3. You should have 3 more protons than you do electrons. So that would make it 10. Hopefully this video helped. Hopefully this kind of gets you through everything. As always, let me know if you need any help.